Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Have you ever wondered what is possible beyond possible? What is the thing you've been wondering and inquiring about? Are you just feeling stuck and don't know why? Are you thinking or are you seeing? Seeing allows us to expand and have this other experience. We want to invite you for that wake-up call. We want to invite your spirit, your soul, so to be more alive, more connected. Glenn Brooks has been a life coach for over 33 years, author of Divorced to Patterns, Not Each Other, an explorer of what is possible. He has worked with people all around the world. Join us for a wake-up conversation, a dialogue with you, and our regular co-hosts, the money healer Stephanie J. Alvarez and Dr. Nicole Kane. We will have some of the most interesting contributors. We will be talking to some of the most interesting people and have some of the most resourceful teachers, wisdom-filled people from around the world join us. Share your voice, ask the questions, become free of the known into a new world of possibility. We are going to talk about all the things you wonder about: how to live, how to heal, how to connect, how to love, how to be seen. Your life is precious. Enjoy it.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Brooks. It's great being with you. I always ask people when I meet them if they're interesting, by the way. That's how I compile that data. Hey, it's great, wonderful being with you today. So I thought I would start with a story. I want to welcome you to the Vibrant Living Radio Network. And stories are huge. They're powerful. So, basically I went to school, and I felt it was the most disconnected, boring thing I could possibly do. Now, growing up, how I woke up in the morning was I heard my father coughing up phlegm. It was the first thing I heard in the morning. And the first thing I saw him do in the morning was take all kinds of anti-sinus medications. I never saw my grandmother stand up. She was diagnosed early with rheumatoid arthritis. The only time I saw her move was at the hospital. She would have a harness around her waist, and that's how she would move. She would be in a pool. I love my grandfather so much. I thought my grandfather was the only person that wasn't intrusive, and somehow we had something. He didn't get impatient with me. And what I remember about his life is that when he came over, my parents hid all the pies and the sugars. He had very, very bad sugar addiction. So part of what was happening was I was in a world that didn't speak to me. I was puzzled about this. And so what became my doorway was I began to somehow I changed my diet in high school. And when I noticed was I changed my diet, I had to think about other things, because I thought, well, no one around me who's gone to school and has 5 PhDs, they don't know how to breathe. They didn't learn how to eat. They certainly didn't learn to do something that gave them great meaning. So at one point I got a paper route, and I would talk to people. I would listen to them. And a few of those people, I felt like I dropped into another conversation, if you will, a vibrant conversation with them. I'm honored about our panel today, by the way. So what I do is when I would check back with them, I could see by the light in their eyes and how they were respirating, breathing. I thought, wow, there's something magical here. There's something wondrous. So this is something that just kind of, in the same way in your life, we just have moments that are defining moments that are different than our regular moments. I picked up a book by the guy who opened the first health food store in this country, Paul Bragg, and I knew in my heart I had to go see Paul Bragg. I knew deeply. As soon as the first book he wrote, one of the books he wrote was called Miracle Fasting. So how I developed Vibrant Media, Vibrant Living Network, was really the people that touched me on so many levels that were beyond school, and also impacted me. I want to acknowledge someone, and I want to introduce our wonderful panel and go into our first topic of the day, Vibrant Matchmaking. I was lecturing. I said it's funny I was lecturing. I was giving a talk to a group of elders, like 80s and 90s, at a place called Fanny Schaefer's Vegetarian Farm. And I had went there under the notion that I would be with my peers who would be non-smokers and non-drinkers. Well, in fact, they couldn't wait till the hour was 10 so they could go party. But before I actually even got into the evening, I gave a talk to these wonderful people that come from all around the country to spend the summer at this place in the Catskills. And when I told them the story of Dr. Norman Walker, he was in his 50s and he was dying, and he was on a farm. And somehow he was a scientist. He was really interested to know, like when they grate vegetables, he somehow had the thought that if you squeeze the fiber and the broken down vegetable, that the juice would be very helpful to people because we use a lot of energy digesting. And I shared with him the story about Dr. Norman Walker. And when I finished, I walked away, and this one guy followed me. And he put like $10 in my pocket, and he said, he goes, Glenn, keep sharing, keep putting this out there. And really that was the beginning of seeing another path. You know, in the books by Bragg, he has this picture of it. It's a guy who's heading towards the graveyard or someone who's heading towards the sun. So my prayer for you as listeners and engagers and co-explorers with us is you hear something and it sparks you. That assumptions and conclusions are the poison in our lives, that we need to keep going beyond those. Because so much assumption and conclusion doesn't allow us to have a new pulse of energy, a new sense of possibility. So, boy, I'm so happy with the panel today, Stephanie. We got Kimchi Moyer, who works with people with what some people call biological medicine. It's really taking the world of nutrition, food, and developing a protocol that's precise to the person. She's with us today in the New York City area, coming from Northern California. We have the food decoder, Susie Marie. So as I think about you, Susie, I think about the headline of the paper yesterday, which was about a city, and it said, loads of empty calories but no food. And I reflect upon that when I stop sometimes. I could walk through a place, and there's no food in there. There's endless artificial sugars, empty calories, and God knows why. Like, I don't know how many code names there are for aspartame, but there's got to be maybe 100. Who would have thought they would have came up with something more poisonous than sugar? They did it. They came up with aspartame and all these byproducts and chemicals. We'll get into some of the insights from the food decoder. I want to send a warm welcome to Susie Marie. Ariel,
thank you.
His last name I'm still mastering day by day. I want to welcome you. He's our New York City, New Jersey producer, and also helps me with produce Vibrant Speaking and Unscripted Power. Have I forgotten anybody? Stephanie, am I doing good? I just want to make sure you're backing me up today.
Just me.
Have I acknowledged everybody on the line? No, I acknowledged you in the beginning. My wonderful, warm-hearted, full-visioned. Yeah, as soon as I met Stephanie, I felt like we moved at the speed of trust together. So here she is. And by the way, one of the biggest lessons in my life, and this is how, it's that we really live in relational transformation, not personal, it's really this relational thing. And that's how we fulfill who we are, by being relational. We'll get into that. Hey, let's do this, Stephanie. Let's let the panel all say hello and have them say something about themselves, starting with you.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Alvarez. I am the money healer and the national producer here for the show. I'm very excited to be here and talk with the panel and give Glenn a hard time because I get a kick out of it.
I was going to say, that's what I think when you write down in your favorite things to do, it's give Glenn a hard time. That's one of your pastimes.
It is.
Thank
I'm
you
excited
for that,
to talk about
yeah.
the vibrant matchmaking. You need to matchmake me with somebody. We've spoken about this.
We're going to do
me
that.
Too. Me too.
Me too. I like
there
that.
You go, Kim.
Me too. This is Kim.
Tall water.
Yes, I'll join Stephanie for the vibrant matchmaking.
I love hearing that, Kimchi. Say something about yourself, Kimchi. What you do is so interesting. You tune into the body's blueprint. You tune into to people's bodies, and I know you work with Regulat, one of our underwriters who I love to pieces. Tell people what you do, because it's very interesting. I mean, I find what you do, very engaging. And of course, we're going to find you a vibrant match. That's already a given.
So I call myself a resopath. a resopath use resonance to measure, to gather biological data about the body. So I developed a health modality called resopathy, using resonance as a pathway to decode the language of the body. If we break everything down in the universe, everything in the universe breaks down to energy. Cells breaks down to molecules, molecules break down to atoms, atoms break down to proton, electrons, neutrons. And as you keep going down below the electrons, you have the photons. In the photon, which is the smallest light, it's the smallest unit of light. And in the photon contains the information of the universe. So everything in the universe breaks down to energy, and energy moves, energy vibrates. And so when there are two similar waves and two similar when two similar waves move close together and they are similar to each other, they go into resonance. So when they go into resonance, there's a shift. It's a shift in the amplitude. So that's when I record the data. So basically, I introduce different substances into circuit with the body, whether it's a food, a supplement, a gemstone, even a drug. I just present it to the body and measure the body reaction electrically by measuring the change in the conductivity of the skin. And I just record the data. So when there's a resonance, there's a change in the amplitude. So what I do all day long is just recording the data, allowing the body to give us a feedback. So basically, I am conversing with the intelligence of the body and let the body talk back and let us present to us what it wants, what it needs, when it wants it, and how it wants it. And that's what I do. So that process is called resopathy, and I am a resopath.
I love it. When I was growing up, my mother referred to the pediatrician as like God. She didn't say it, but I always felt like, wow, what would I do without a medication? So I think it's so interesting. Resonance-wise, I was always if I saw someone who was unusually alive, I realized I would register that. I was always curious why certain people seemed so alive. And so when I first really changed my diet, it just opened up the universe to me. I got so curious. Now, we got the food decoder on. We got Susie Marie. So I'm sitting at the library at my high school thinking most of the books don't interest me. But I picked up this book one day called Consumer Beware by Beatrice Trum Hunter. And I read the chapter on eggs. And she painted a picture, which I went, like most people living in the New York area, eggs were at the supermarket, and you thought they lived on a farm, and they ran around all day, and they got in fights, and whatever they would do all day. I never thought, chickens would live in a fluorescent factory building. And so reading Beatrice Trum Hunter really opened my eyes. What happened was when I changed my diet, I felt better, and I was in tune in a way there was another way I was in tune, and it made me question everything. Because I think when I asked my mother, as an example, about why, my dad had sinus headaches, she said it ran in the family. Now, I had the honor of meeting Jacques LaLanne, who really, his show on fitness back in the 50s, and in the 40s, of course, in the 40s, the cardiologist warned people not to lift weights, that it would produce disastrous health effects, including impotence, diseases, premature aging. This is back in the 40s. The experts of the day warned against it. Now, Jacques LaLanne prescribed it. He started a fitness show, and his father had passed away at 50. And I was talking to Jack in his 80s, and Jack told me, he decided he could change his life. He could do something different. He met a teacher. So one of my inspirations for the show is that that there's wisdom, and that wisdom, when we apply it, transforms our lives and those around us. So, as the food decoder, I want to welcome you. How did you become the food decoder?
I came into the show actually because of Stephanie, my dear friend Stephanie, who I am going to co-help give you a hard time, by the way. And if anybody doesn't know,
I got so many volunteers for that. You're going to be another one?
Glad you're in trouble now.
Yes.
Of course. And, by the way, we have a contest going on. Whoever gets the most laughs gets $1,000 out of Glenn. So we're going to try hard. All right. Did I win? Did I win?
Thank you for sharing that with the audience. That was brilliant.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. And I did want to add something to your food. You know, in the 40s, you know, this little town of Bodie, which is way out in the middle of nowhere, and I think it's a ghost town. But my friend and I had gone a little while ago, and they had told us that doctors in the 40s had expressly told everybody to smoke. Smoking was actually good for you because it opened your lungs. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
So,
wow.
I know. That's totally amazing. I never did introduce myself. Susie Marie, the food decoder. My background is actually, I have Hawaiian, actually probably a quarter of Hawaiian blood somewhere in me.
Very precise.
Yes, and of course Italian. So between those two generations and backgrounds and stuff, there's food in my whole family tree. I mean, everybody does everything around food. You can't get away from it. So my family in general, of course, have all had their own health issues, you know, cancer and congestive heart failure and all these things. And I decided I was not going to go through any of that because it didn't look fun at all. And I really love food, too. I mean, there's so many vibrant colors to food, you know, the textures in your mouth. I mean, all these things. And I just wanted to figure out what was clean and what was poisonous that, you know, we don't even know we're eating because good old marketing companies for the big corporations tell you one thing and really you're eating plastic half the time. So that's sort of how I got into this. And I did want to mention there was an article in the Chicago Tribune the other day that talked about how the sugar industry had hid a study from 50 years ago about the effects on rats, and that was linked to heart disease and bladder cancer. And of course, the sugar industry, when approached by a UCSF professor named Glantz, they all claimed the results were speculative and assumptions were made, and you know that had nothing to do with anything. So there you go. White sugar is not good for anybody at all.
I'm gonna give you a sugar story. My favorite.
Yeah, go ahead.
You also had me concerned about the $1,000 that I promised if you were the funniest. So I was and also the fact you're now going to give me a hard time. This woman saw me today and she said, "Are you still creating a lot of trouble?" And I said, "Yes." So anyway, all right. So the sugar story. So very early on, when I went to bookstores, which is how I kind of semi got into some things, I started to call authors. And so one of the people I really admired was a woman named Gloria Swanson. Anybody know Gloria Swanson? Anybody for Gloria Swanson? Say, you know who she is? Gloria Swanson? Gloria Swanson?
Yes.
One more time,
yes,
Gloria Swanson. Oh, tell her. What do you know about her?
I thought she was a huge actress, right?
She's one of the most famous silent screen actresses, yes.
Yes.
So I'm in New York. I'm in New York City. By the way, that's excellent. Yeah. She's stunning. She's in her 80s, and there's a huge press conference with 60 journalists. And one of the journalists was a guy named William Duffy, pretty renowned journalist. William Duffy was there, and as you can imagine, usually the way they set up media, there's all kinds of coffee and Danish. It's like so many journalists, I think, maybe they're realizing that being a journalist, their diets are terrible for the most part. So anyway, William Duffy's sitting there. Gloria Swanson enters the room. And so William Duffy says to Gloria, hey, could you please pass the sugar? Because he's making his coffee, you know. And so Gloria Swanson says to William Duffy in front of all the other journalists, she says, no, I will not pass that poison to anyone. And so Duffy, like, it stopped him in his tracks, you know. So after that day, he gave up sugar for the next, I think he gave up sugar the next 7 months. He took a picture of himself, which is on the cover of this amazing book that he wrote back in I think it was the 80s, called Sugar Blues. And so it was the first book that I had read, right? First book I read. It was very influential. And so let me get into this. Okay, I want to get into vibrant matchmaking in a second. I want to let Ariel Bagdarian. I'm just practicing your last name, by the way. Yeah, so I've given Ariel several possible other last names. If he's ever puzzled about an alternative last name, I'm really supporting him and having another last name. So Ariel is our New York, New Jersey producer. He also works with me on my Vibrant Speaking or Unscripted Power. And when I get into the vibrant matchmaking, I think I want to talk to you guys a little bit about crises and how to use a crisis to develop and bring forward another whole aspect of yourself, and also to get closer to other people. And so here you are, Ariel. Say something about yourself as one of the panel today.
Hi guys, my name is Ariel Baradarian. Not surprised.
That's a good name. That's a decent name. Yeah,
it's decent. Yeah. Okay, it's good to hear. So it's a little bit about myself. I'm a holistic homeopathic practitioner. I work with clients with a wide variety of mental, emotional, and physical, long-term and short-term ailments in medical and integrative clinics in New York and New Jersey. And I also treat other clients throughout the country and the world through video chat. And I'm Glenn's. I'm also another one of Glenn's sidekicks in the Vibrant Living Network. And we just have a great time. I'm really happy to be here with everyone to see all the guests here today.
Thank you. Thank you very. Thank you.
This is Kimchi, and I'm
Kimchi.
I am thinking about moving to New York, so it's just so nice to hear that you guys are here, and I'm just excited.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say also, actually, now that Kimchi, you brought up the modality that you practice, the resopathy. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, resopathy, resonance. So resopathy, like allopathy, homeopathy, naturopathy, and this is resopathy.
Right. So I actually love how you coined it, and I love how you practice, because it's the same idea as how I approach people too. Like our goal also in homeopathy is to help people reach that resonance. Of course, they have a different way of doing it, but I just love how you put in how you explained it. It's really amazing to have something like that. And I'm very happy that you're going to be bringing this and coming to the New York area, because I think a lot of people can really, really use this.
Yeah, I am from California, and recently, due to the Northern California wildfire that happened in early October, I have lost everything to the fire, and so I'm looking to resettle.
Oh, wow.
And New York is one place that I'm considering, beside LA, to relaunch. And there's just so much energy here right now in the East Coast. I feel like the universe is bringing me back to the East Coast. So there's a very big possibility that I will be camping here for a while. So I would love to talk to you more about this. And just a little background on myself. I am originally from Vietnam. I grew up during the war, so I got to see lots of suffering. I see a lot of I see poverty in front of me. So I got to see what's going on as a kid. So I have already a natural interest in what can I do to make people feel better. And then later on, when I made my way here to the U.S., as a refugee with my whole family, I started to get into the health field just by sheer interest. What can I do to make people feel better? And that lead me into the field of acupuncture, oriental medicine, because I simply did not want to become a surgeon. They did recommend that I need to become a doctor or a surgeon, and I did not want to spend my days in the surgery room. So I had to find another modality. And in the 80s, you know, going to acupuncture school is really like voodoo medicine at that time. So I had to survive through that. And after finishing acupuncture school, doing a lot of, you know, needling and different bleeding techniques. I mean, I was really like traditional acupuncture school at the time. Then after I graduated from there, I got introduced to German biological medicine and German functional medicine and made my way to Germany. And that's when I realized how advanced the Germans are in terms of natural medicine and bioenergetic medicine. And I was mentored by biophysicists and doctors that are really into biophysical information therapy. And that when it completely shifted my life. And so I spent the last 26 years focusing on that field and develop that field and create Resopathy as a result of that. So what I do is I just gather data. I connect with the body electrically, make measurements, and collect information about the body, gather the biological data. And after I lost everything recently on October 9th, both my home and my business, I decided to launch Resopathy Institute as a way to pass on the knowledge to the next generation, because I know that the fire cannot take away. If I start to pass on the knowledge, the fire cannot take that away. And this is why I'm here in the East Coast and begin to launch this modality.
I called Kimchi.
Oh, sorry.
I called Kimchi during the fire, so I just want to say it's great hearing your voice. There was a lot of concern about what was happening with you, so it's just wonderful hearing your vital voice today.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that too, Kimchi. Did you say you're in New York now, or are you still in California? And I think there's a fund, right, that's being created for everybody who, well, everything. I don't know what the fund's called, but I was looking at it.
Yes, it was very hard for me to leave California after being there for more than 25 years. Well, actually more than that. And you know, I was comfortable. I live in the wine country. I have a beautiful home. I have chickens. I was in a very comfortable environment, and so for me to move probably would take a lot to get out of where I was, and somehow the fire just within a few hours took everything away. It forced me to see that, wow. I got to see white ashes right in front of me, and I say, wow, I get to see it now. I don't have to wait 20 years to experience ashes. I get to see now, and I see that everything is an illusion because of what I have created. Suddenly all disappear. Then I just realized everything is an illusion. And then so I told myself, if everything is an illusion, I can recreate the game. I can make it whatever I want, make it really good, and then I get out of the planet, but at least do something that just rock this planet before I leave, but make it even better. Even though I know it's an illusion, I still can recreate and make it better. So that's why I am. That's why I'm here, and I feel that I'm forced to leave California, and I am here in New York because my daughter is here in Greenwich, Connecticut. And suddenly, as I arrive, suddenly things happening here in the East Coast. I just feel that the energy is calling me that I have to be here to make this happen.
You know, Kimchi, I just think that your story is a true testament, and it's so touching and moving to hear, because one of the things as the money healer that I work with my clients on and that I believe is that everything is really a figment of our imagination. And so you can literally lose everything, but when you have that knowledge and you have that passion and you have this higher purpose for your life, that is something that can never be taken away. That is something that is always going to be your foundation to build upon. And I have no idea how it must have felt to lose everything. That's not something that I could ever imagine, but just hearing you and your spirit and your story and your journey, it's so inspiring to hear, and I'm loving that you have been able to share that and what you were talking about with the energy and the frequencies. I often talk with people about that, about basically becoming a vibrational match to what it is that you're wanting to create. Like, we can all create a life filled with wonder and joy and great health, but we have to become a vibrational match to it. And so I think that the work that you're doing is fascinating, and I'm excited that you are creating that foundation and basically teaching people and passing that knowledge on, because for years that's how things were done. You know, me, my background is, part of my background is being Native American, and in our tradition, things are passed down orally from one generation to the next. And to me, that stuff is just so invaluable. We need more people to be passing the information on. So I just wanted to let you know that's very touching.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Yes. Go ahead.
I wanted to add one more thing too. Go ahead, Glenn.
No, I'm just going to identify you in the show, just so people are. I want to welcome you to the Vibrant Living Network. I'm Glenn Brooks, along with our wonderful panel, and the food decoder, Susie Marie, is going to share. You know what's really funny? Before Kimchi shared that, in my heart, Colin from Regular actually asked me to call Kimchi and check in on her. So I was actually so happy. I had felt like a deep connection to Kimchi before I spoke to her, and what she just had to say was just very touching and moving. And boy, it's such a touching thing that you could use. You know, you could use devastation with awareness as a way to build and connect with a new life. And by the way, my book, Divorce the Patterns on Each Other, is all about that. It's really about going beyond the illusion and finding a depth of love that we thought we lost. So anyway, I'm so on board and so touched. Susie Marie, the food decoder.
Well, yes, and then on another strange note, you know how a lot of times maybe we know we have to move or do something else or whatever, and, you know, life just finally gets kind of comfortable and you just don't think about it. And then, boom, a fire gets put right under your butt, literally, and then, boom, you're out. And now, Kimchi to New York, not knowing she was going there, and all these things opened up for her, you know. So I know, I mean, all of us have been through this same fire under your butt scenario where you're like, really? I guess I got to go. So, but that's cool because it's inspirational. It gets you going. You're onto a new direction. So that's really amazing. And again, Kimchi, if you need help, you know, because I'm in California, you need me to, I don't know, do anything. So just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susie Marie. I love that you are the food decoder. And as a body decoder myself, I love decoding. I wanted to become a private a detective as a kid. I love solving problems and puzzles. I just love solving health puzzles, and I love to see people feel better. So I just found a game for me to play, and using technologies to prove it, because I know that as we tap into the field, as we tap into the intelligence of the body, we all have intuition. What if I can prove that piece of intuition scientifically? What if I could connect science and spirit together so that we can begin to dabble in that field and not feeling like we're playing voodoo medicine? What if this thing is really how the universe works? We just finally begin to have technology to understand that information is in the field. We finally have the technology to be able to measure the field. And so now we start to see, wow, it is we were limited to our five senses. That's why we have to waiting and to see things, to feel things, to hear, to show that it exists. But now we know that it exists beyond our five senses, and there's technology to measure that. So I feel right now, currently in our evolution, it's time for these modalities to surface. That's why homeopathy is one modality. It's using information to help the body heal through information. It's not through molecules, right? So there are different modalities. Now we're using everything to do with frequency. So that's light, that's sound, homeopathy, resopathy, all of that should be integrated with the current conventional medicine so we can coexist and collaborate together to relieve suffering, right, for the species. So that's why I am really, excited about these possibilities.
It's so, Kimchi, it's so funny you say that, because that's literally, I see it in my own eyes every single day when I go to the clinic. I said before, I work in a clinic in New Jersey, in a medical urgent care clinic in New Jersey, and in this clinic, it's a conventional Western allopathic clinic, obviously. But if you ever see the practitioners, the nurses, the doctors, patients especially, people are thirsty for a new way of looking at their health. People don't want the, the classic, band-aiding, suppressing whatever it is that we have and just to shut it down until something else happens. People are looking for permanent, natural, energetic, resonant, dynamic care and vibration in order to live the life they want to live, to be empowered in their own life and their health and their well-being in order to do what it is that they need to do. And I think it's beautiful that we can all come together and share these ideas and share our viewpoints and really, have this relational wisdom and combine it to use it to really just better the world day by day. And I think as, I really feel for you for the tragedy and the loss with the fire that you had to go through, but at the same time, things happen for a reason. Everything happens is good and it's perfect at the end of the day, whether we see it now or further down the line. Who knows? Maybe you moving out, it may be that you just this needed to happen so you can bring this idea and this concept and your modality and the way you approach healing to more and more people in a more vibrant and relational and just powerful way. And I really pray that your transition go very smoothly without too much trouble to the point where we're going to see that just the amazing things that will come out of this. Sometimes through the destruction, that's where the real construction, the blossoming begins. And I really pray that this will happen.
That was a resident yes. I like that.
Thank you.
That was yes again. Yeah. Wow.
Yes,
wow.
Yes. Thank you.
You could definitely do a yes to health audio vibrational healing tape. It's a very powerful yes. I feel it.
Actually, when Kim speaking,
yes.
I heard her say science and spirit, and I don't know if you've ever written a book,
yes.
Kimchi, but for some reason that really popped out at me, because I've actually been reading a large amount of books looking at the science behind the energy of everything, and I just love that as a title for a book, Science and Spirit. And I think that would be, I don't know, for some reason that just really sticks out to me. I'm actually doing a book right now. Mine is Cracking the Money Code, and I think it's funny because we're all talking about decoding certain things, but I do feel that people need to have the science behind what we do. Not everybody, but some people do, and it just really solidifies, and it brings a different level of, I would say, professionalism or really trustworthiness to the things that we're talking about. Sometimes people need that science behind it. They need the proof behind it. So I love that you're gathering all of this data and are going to be able to share it with the world.
Yes,
I just want to identify you're listening to the let me just identify you guys are listening to the Vibrant Living Network. The Vibrant Living Network is on every Thursday from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. With expanding hours, we're actually moving into our own network. And if you're moved by what's here, we speak to you, speak to us. In a moment, I'll have the panel give out their websites so you can be in touch with them and know that they'll be back on again, and there's a depth to this. It won't just be a fleeting conversation. And we'll also have Kim talk a little about Regulat, one of our underwriters, who I just treasure. So let me just do something brief on vibrant matchmaking, because I think we'll bring together some of these wonderful awarenesses of tragedy, but tragedy that is an alchemy. Like, in other words, it brings us into something new, a new life, and also that we don't have enough information to be pessimistic, which is, boy, I find that to be one of the most interesting things that people give away. They give away something, and what they give away is their curiosity. So, in 1993, I met this psychiatrist, and I did a course called The Mastery. And what Bob Shaw did is he traveled the world. And I always was curious about this. I was always curious. How could it be, as an example, someone has anorexia for 27 years, and they're told they're never going to get well? This is very common, right? But yet, there's someone in Canada who helps people, and they get better in 5 sessions. Like, what would, So I said, I'm going to spend 7 days with Bob, because I believe I've always, here's the interesting thing. So I always was curious about why that was. What makes something catchable, stickable? What makes something speak to us in a way that changes the way we pay attention to ourselves, our breath? So I spent 7 days with Bob. But funny enough, to do that course, you had to be a medical doctor or a lawyer. I had the third alternative, which you could be on staff. So I was on staff. And one of the things that got really into, I want to give you a gem, and then I want to go into vibrant matchmaking, which is related. So when you work with people, whether it's a doctor, an artist, a coach, what they bring to the table, and this is significant, is they bring a certain amount of assumptions or presuppositions, things they just assume to be true. So as an example, you go to a therapist and they put you down as bipolar. They get a certain insurance payment. See, the game is mostly set up based on survival. And what's kind of missing is this vital moment and paying attention in a different way. And a friend of mine is a psychiatrist, and I tell you, this guy is not an ego. He doesn't have an ego. He's one of the most beautiful people you'll experience. And he's regularly had people come out of psychosis and all kinds of states that they were told they would never come out of. So we're going to do a show on the soul mind. Like, what is this deeper mind? What is this infinite mind? How can we tap it? So, okay, vibrant matchmaking. Well, obviously, in some way, we're all talking about vibrant matchmaking. We're talking about this ability to find something vibrant or vibratory and to let us bring this out of our, if you will, our counterfeit state, the state that was probably reinforced. For me, it was school. It was unpleasant experience with my peers. It was kind of feeling like I was a stranger in a strange land, as the book title goes. Well, probably about 8 years ago, I had met my wife, Donna, at a health food store, obviously. Where else could I meet her? I met her at the health food store, and I felt this resonance with her. And one of the principles I want to stick with you guys today is that the poison is the healing cure. I want you to ponder that idea, that poison in the right dose is healing. So I meet Donna, and my whole universe changes. As soon as I saw her, I had a recognition. And so I have this dear friend, Dr. Norm Shealy, you'll get introduced to, neurosurgeon. He's like my uncle. I love him to pieces. So I mentioned the word recognition. So one of the things that makes vibrant matchmaking very different is I educate people to really have this recognition awareness rather than a knowing. So knowing is kind of like a lot of times we try to know someone from the outside, and recognition is a little different than that. So recognition, I actually said this to Norm one day. I said, hey, what about, what's your take on this, that knowing gets in the way? And he says, yes, it does get in the way. He goes, Glenn, I met my wife 54 years ago, and I recognize her as my wife, and we've been married 54 years. And initially she was dating another dorm mate of mine, someone else from college. So part of how vibrant matchmaking came into being was at the time I was married for about 27 years, And I felt in my deepest heart I would be with Donna forever and ever. And so what happened was well, a couple things happened. One is she got Lyme disease, which was, I know this is going to sound strange in a way, but it was miraculous in the sense it really put me in touch with this deep, deep love that I had for her. And I wasn't in touch with this at this deeper level. So as we talk about crises, there's this kind of gift that takes us beyond time and allows us to have a shift of perception. So what happened there was, I call these relational tsunamis. I had a relational tsunami with Donna. Now, in my deepest heart, I always felt we would move past the tsunami. For about a year and a half, I felt the deepest pain ever. I felt like I was losing her. And one night, I started to see, like I was sleeping, and the best way to describe this, I call this soul seeing. I started to see and feel something very different. And the next day when I went out to walk, I could see colors again. I kind of felt I was getting respirated into life again. And I started to realize on a number of levels that as much as personal transformation, personal development, self-help, self-transformation is useful, that it often misses the next phase, which is actually relational transformation. And a lot of times our self-growth work gets in the way of having a deep, powerful relationship that's loving and re-educate your nervous system. That often divorce and division are coming from a certain habitual habit. Now, I started to see this, and I realized that in the pain of this, that matchmaking, well, another thing that happened was that I met a lot of people who would ask me about this, and I realized when I would talk to them, people would contact me for all kinds of things. I was selling a used Mercedes-Benz once, and the woman was asking about relationship stuff. So I started to feel like I love this idea that the universe speaks to us between our thoughts. So I started to feel that there was a way I could bring this to people. And so vibrant matchmaking, in fact, is beyond dating to relating, because I feel that domesticated dating gets in the way of this deeper essence. And so what we're going to do is we're going to hold these Zoom calls, and we're going to actually let people experience some of the principles of vibrant matchmaking. But one of the first principles I want you to stick with, one is that the poison. So when you come into deep relationships, there's a certain amount of poison or habits or projection that occurs. It's not a red flag. It's just kind of what happens. Now, as I was having this intuitive awakening, this relational awakening, Dr. Sue Johnson came up with the new attachment therapy, which means that everything that we thought about up till now has been that when there's a bad attachment, you got to get out of there. You got to end the relationship. And really, I want you guys to consider it's the beginning. And as I bring this to matchmaking, it starts off the relationship at a very different note, and it's one of the callings of my soul. So that's why I came up with vibrant matchmaking, and I'll give you guys an experience, and we'll get more into it. I love that you're listening to the Vibrant Living Radio Network, and I want to say that this is a way of life. I meet people. I have recognitions that sometimes have people fly here to see me from different parts of the country, and I'm just so a lot of times you could say linear know why things occur, and yet I'm so grateful. Like you're listening today for some purpose I don't know about, so I want to say I'm deeply touched that you're listening, and I love to get your response. I want to get everybody to give up their emails. I'm going to start with my email because I want you guys to write me to be in touch. We're also doing this 3-month challenge called the Vibrant Living Challenge, which I think you're going to love. It's a relational transformational experience, which I think is very distinct. I'd like to just hear how the show touches you and to be a participant in it. So it's Glenn, Glenn, Vibrant Living, all one word, vibrantliving@gmail.com. And Stephanie, why don't you give out your email, and then I want to have Kimchi also say a word about Regulat. And I'd like to have you guys respond any which way. So go ahead with your email, Stephanie, and then we'll go around the room.
Okay. My email is info@themoneyhealer.com, and you can visit me online at themoneyhealer.com.
Okay, that wasn't funny, Stephanie. Okay, no one's won the $1,000, Susie, so I'm really looking to you now. I'm looking to you to really, I want to hear that. What's that?
I still think I won in the long run.
Well, Glenn, really quickly,
Anyway.
though, started talking about vibrant matchmaking, and I had to look at my Bumble profile to see if I had any messages, so I was a little distracted. I apologize.
Glad you on purpose. I'm glad you live your life in a way that's participatory. Thank you for that. I appreciate that, you know. I'd rather have someone just flat out heal me than talk to me about it. So that's good. I like that. I don't like people to talk about it. So, Susie, give out your I want to see if you can win the $1,000. If you can rock the audience humor-wise, I'm ready for that. Otherwise, give out your website. Give out your contact. Food Decoder.
Okay. Yes, Food Decoder. First of all, I do have a company because this is where my email's going to go. Called Sweet Life Specialty Foods, and all of our food does not have dairy, corn, eggs, nuts, wheat, gluten, and it actually has a flavor that tastes good. Kind of shocking. Anyway, so my email is Susie, SUSIE, at sweetlifespecialtyfoods with an S at the end, .com. And you are all welcome to email me anytime about any strange and interesting ingredients or weird things you don't have the slightest idea what to do with, or if you need recipes on anything. I actually do some sort of strange transformational alchemy with my food also. When I'm preparing food, I have lots of minerals and rocks around me because that's kind of my background anyway. I wear lava rock every day, thank goodness. And anyway, so that's how I create my food. And strangely enough, if I have a issue about how am I going to create something, because usually my ingredient list shrinks a lot because a lot of people have allergies to things, as you all know. I usually have to put a little request before I go to sleep, and then in the morning I get the answer, and boom, I just create some really cool things. So again, if anybody wants that sort of information, just email me. No, I didn't get a lot of laughs out of that, so I might be out on the 1,000. But I think for the whole thing,
there's always next week.
Oh, come on, Glenn. No, that's not what you said yesterday. Anyway.
Well, the other thing is, I could throw this to the panel. We got to move forward with the emails, but I don't think there's any major bad guy in any movie named Susie. It just seems like Susie is just always going to be mellow and kind of a peace giver. I mean, has anybody met a bad guy named Susie? I just thought I'd share that.
No.
Or a shoplifter named Susie. I don't know any shoplifters named Susie.
No. Yeah. And
all right.
I did, parole officer did let me out, Glenn, like you asked.
Timothy, go out and give out your website and say something about Regulat too, because I use the product.
Yes,
I think it's pretty extraordinary. It's a non-drug.
Yes, it's an
thank you, Susie.
product, the Regulat. Yes, and Susie, I would love to test some of your food too. I would love to explore that and test the food. I mean, I test for everything just to get information, so I'd love to do that.
That'd be
yes,
totally cool.
Yes, cool. Good. So in terms, yes, about Regulat, I have tons of supplements. I mean, you can imagine everyone comes with a suitcase, sometimes 2 suitcases of supplements, of all kinds of stuff from all over the world. So I get to really see what's going on, and I'm just there plugging along, testing for everything to see which one does what. And so I start to see which one often tests a lot for most of the cases. So as I record the data, so Regulat is one of those remedies, especially for cancer, especially when you have a strong dysbiosis that require certain special ingredients to redo your small and large intestine. So I just saw that Regulat start.
Excuse me 1 second. Kimchi, I just looking at the clock. I just okay. So, Stephanie, go ahead and give the website for Regulat, please. We got 2 minutes to go on our time slot. I love having dinner with you guys. I love hanging with you guys. I forget about the clock. Go ahead, Stephanie. What's the What's the website for Regulat? Then we'll let Kimchi give out a website, then Ariel. And then Susie will have 30 seconds to rock the boat.
It's regulat-university.com.
One more time. Well, you did like a ring girl. You just kind of ran through it was pretty quick. All right. Kind of excited about Susie's last humorous comment, by the way. I do want to say that. Okay, Kimchi, your website. Thank you for messing with me and giving me a hard time. Kimchi, what's your website and email? If people want to learn about an energetic approach, a resonant approach, how could they reach you? Yes,
just go on my website, rezopathy.com. Rezopathy, RESOPATHY.com, rezopathy.com. You should be able to contact me there. You should be able to see the modalities that I'm launching, as well as going to the gallery. You got to see my former place and the
oh my God, fire, the music! Music.
Yes.
That music is actually telling us we have like 30 seconds to go. Ariel, quickly, what's your email address?
naturalholistichomeopathic.com. Go on there, you'll find everything you need to know to heal on your own, empower yourself.
Oh my God!
Contact information there too. Looking forward to working.
All right, Susie has like 10.
Really nice to be on here.
Susie has 7 seconds for that $1,000. Interrupt me if you need to, Susie. I want to thank everybody for being with us today on the Vibrant Living Network. Stephanie, Susie, Kimchi, Ariel. If you like Precious and Joyous, be with us next week and be part of the Vibrant Living experience. You like Precious and Joyous. I'll say that again. It's a good thing to meditate and breathe on. Drop into this moment